You're against people like Mr. Beast, against all these different channels, then they're doing maybe 10-minute long videos. How do you compete with them? I'm going to show you an episode of my podcast, and we're going to work through the optimization of this live episode. It's going to go out right as we're talking. So let's jump to my YouTube studio for my show. We're actually going to go into the content section here. Okay, and the new episode we're going to be working on is this one. I literally just published this last night, I kid you not, at 12 o'clock. And it's on our top summer movies of all time. Okay, so let's dive into here. So the first thing I want to point to, okay, is the title. Okay, now this is something that I think is very important. The title of your YouTube video needs to be keyword rich and work in tandem with your thumbnail, okay? That's important, okay? That has to be working in tandem. I do have a title that I've already got, but I want you to look at this title here. So it is our top 5 summer movies that defined our childhoods and why they're dying out. Now, that's a title right there that says a bunch of things. One, first of all, it says quite clearly that we're talking about summer movies, okay? So when someone searches on YouTube summer movies, this is going to pop up. On top of that, this is an episode where myself and my co-host John basically, list out our favorite summer movies. And so it's kind of one of these top 10 ones. And you might say, well, that seems kind of clickbaity, but it's all, again, we're working inside the YouTube sandbox, okay? And, it's a title that if I have the right thumbnail, will work in tandem. So it's saying like, these are not just our top summer movies. These are ones that defined our childhoods. So certain people of a certain age are going to be like, oh yeah, that movie that they mentioned, I remember that. So there is a connection that we're trying to make with our audience. It's that engagement again. And then at the end of it, you can see there's like this little parentheses thing here. And this is, again, the little trick, it's kind of against the main argument here. I'm saying, are summer movies dying out? Are those style of movies dying out? Why? Why would they be dying out? Again, this is a question that anyone who's looking at this in search or in browse is going to be like, oh, well, I need to know what this is. I need to click on this. All right. So the title is very important. That's where your keywords are going to come into play. Number 2, the most important thing. Your thumbnail on YouTube is vital. And I have seen, and again, we're going to go to solo shots here. This is important. Okay. Solo shot. If you want to win on YouTube, spend a lot of time on that thumbnail. I kid you not. Spend time on the thumbnail. Research the thumbnail. Make thumbnails that are going to stop people scrolling. Your biggest hurdle on YouTube. You're against people like Mr. Beast, against all these people who have all these different channels, then they're doing maybe 10-minute long videos. And how do you compete with them? It's through the thumbnail. That is how we're working in the same sandbox. So we got to work in that sandbox and make thumbnails that cause engagement. So let's go back. So for my thumbnail, there's a new feature that I want to point out that not a lot of podcasters are talking about. Okay, so YouTube released this thing called Test and Compare. Okay, and what Test and Compare allows you to do is actually test out 3 different thumbnails at one time. All right, and we're going to use this for this episode here. So I'm going to click on Test and Compare, and it's going to say, all right, give me 3 images that you want to use. So I've got 3 here, and then we're going to go with the first one here and just drop it in. It's going to upload. We'll do the second one here, drop that in, and the third one here, and drop that in. Okay, so we've got now 3 different thumbnails. All right, and it used to be that you couldn't do this. You had to use something like vidIQ or TubeBuddy, but YouTube has this built in now, which is really cool. So now that I've got those, I can hit done. Okay, and when I go to publish this, what's going to happen is over the course of about 2 weeks, YouTube is going to certain audience members show either of these 3 thumbnails. And what it's going to look for is what it refers to as session watch time. So it's going to look at seeing which thumbnail didn't just get clicks, but which thumbnail actually caused people to watch more of the video. Now, some people have said that this is not the best way. And honestly, if you use something like vidIQ or TubeBuddy, they're based off of click-through rate. So that just means that how many of those thumbnails are actually getting clicks. But the truth is, what does YouTube want? It wants watch time. It wants people to engage with the entire video. So it's going to look and see which one of these thumbnails cause people to watch more of the video. And that may be the best thumbnail to use, or it may not be. Okay. I'm still playing around with this feature myself, but I have seen that it has given me a boost in views at certain times. And it's always a good idea to test things out. All right. The thumbnail is extremely important. So I'd say probably as important, if not more so, than your title. Okay. Because this is your packaging. This is what is going to stop people from scrolling. All right. Now, moving on from there, let's talk about descriptions. You can see that I have a couple things that are at the right top of this. So the first line actually is, if you think about it, it's a variation of the title. Okay. And the first line is important because that first line is actually going to be visible in search. If you go onto YouTube and you search for a video and you go through browse, you'll see the first line of the description. And I see this as a lot of times where people like make this mistake. They just jump right into the description, or they don't spend any time on what that first line is. That first line, think about that as like, that's your second point of convincing your audience to click. They see the thumbnail, they see the title, and then that description, that first line, that's the thing they're going to go, oh, wow, what is this about? So I, wanted to put in a line that was just, what are your top 5 summer movies? That's something that's going to pop up. It's going to compel people to want to click and look through the rest of the description. So for my description, I do something that's a little wordy. Okay. And I do maybe 2 or 3 sentences on that. And again, I'll just peek behind the scenes here. I use AI to help with this because I don't like having to write descriptions if I don't have to. So I take the transcript, I feed it into Claude AI, and have been getting some really good results on at least starting points for the description. Okay. So this helps because it's putting in the description things that could be searched, like The Sandlot, Jaws. I think Grease is in there somewhere. So there's a lot of these keywords that could be searched. Now, my show is a sponsored podcast, sponsored by Manscaped. So I have that as my coupon code right beneath that. Okay. That's my call to action. And then the rest are aspects of the show that I think, I go back to thinking this is important, of what is someone who's never come to my podcast before, what do I want them to see? So in my description, I put things like, I want your feedback. Click on my little survey thing here. Or, hey, find my show on YouTube. Okay, and this link here is, this special one right here is really neat. That one automatically subscribes them, okay, into YouTube. They click that link, boom, they're automatically subscribed. I have things like, hey, you can watch more YouTube, you can watch more episodes here. So it's a link back to the channel because, again, I don't know if they've come to my channel. I don't know if they've done that. I thought that maybe they've just come to search, all right? And then my co-host does an awesome video, not a podcast, but just a YouTube channel, so I link to that. And then I have socials, all right? And then on top of that, I have my links on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, and Good Pods, okay? So these are all places that I'm thinking, if no one's come to my podcast before, if this is the first time, where do I want to send them, all right? And then just for me, because I have a background in film, I automatically put in the copyright notice on the music that I use because that's just my brain, okay? It's something that I put in. I got this music from Music Bakery, what I always included in there, all right? The next step is, again, playlist. Now, I have already set up my podcast as a playlist, so I'm going to make sure that that is ticked as well. The other thing you can try too is if you have episodes, like I have over 319 episodes of my podcast, and it covers various topics all over the place. Some of them are related. So I started creating mini playlists that are not podcasts, but they're just playlists on YouTube for certain episodes. So we talk about the Leprechaun series of movies. We did Hitchcock Month, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and of course, Batman. Those are all playlists within YouTube. They're not podcasts. But it's another point where, again, someone can find your show, okay, if they're searching that topic. Paid promotion. If you have a podcast that has baked in ads, okay, make sure this is ticked. This is important because there's a lot of stuff that goes into, having baked in ads of any type, any sort of promotion of a product or placement, especially with YouTube. So if you're getting paid for something, if you're getting something in return, make sure that's ticked. So I make sure that's always ticked on the video. It doesn't really affect it anything. It just puts a little thing in the corner saying like, hey, yeah, this is paid promotion. Okay. So chapters are a thing that you can include in your podcast, and it's a strategy that I do touch on when I've talked about YouTube. There's a back and forth with it though. Like some people will say, well, do I want to have people skipping forward through my podcast? Yes or no? I look at it as if I'm someone who's used to YouTube and I'm used to videos like Mr. Beast, I'm used to videos that are, 10 minutes long or 8 minutes long, that's the mentality. That's the type of audience behavior. So does it make sense then to include chapters for that audience? Okay. That's, I think, the biggest thing to take away from this whole using YouTube is think about what the audience on YouTube wants, not what you personally, the podcaster, wants. So I'm a proponent of putting chapters in. I'm not going to do that with this particular episode, but you can put chapters in. Now, tags. This is where if you had brought in your podcast through the Libsyn dashboard and brought in and clicked that little keyword button, all these tags would pop up here. Now, I'm going to throw tags in, but keep in mind that according to YouTube and Google, they say that tags don't really help. So I'm going to throw them in because might as well. How did I get those? Because I used the transcript and because I fed it through AI and said, hey, give me tags associated with this. So this is a little hack for you all to get keywords that can be done fairly quickly. Couple things I'm going to add here. I'm going to add an end screen because I want people to watch the next video. So I'll import from my last video, which is just, I think we just pulled from, because we talked about Maxine, we said, oh, let's go to an episode dealing with Pearl, which is the last movie. Now I might choose something like, I'll just pick a random episode here. Let's go to the last episode so they can watch that. But what end screens allow you to do is get people to watch the next video. So if you do have people who love your episode, they want to know more, well, they can subscribe and then you can automatically shunt them over to the next episode. Okay. So really handy. Subtitles, put subtitles in. I'm going to upload those myself right now. And this is, again, something that you can get from the transcript. And what this allows you to do, honestly, is just kind of give the best subtitles rather than letting YouTube do it for you. YouTube sometimes can give you, subtitles that don't necessarily look that great or sound that great, or it kind of messes up words. So I think it's always best to add your own. And it's a thing that YouTube likes to see. There's a couple other things that you could do. You could do a premiere. We talked about that when we had the Movie Dumpster folks on. They use premieres oftentimes, and you could do that in the schedule. When you make it public, you can literally say, make this a premiere. And that can help with getting engagement, right? I've tried that, and I've tested it out for myself. And for at least my purposes, it doesn't really make any difference. So I go with, I'm going to put it out there and do as best as I can to optimize it. But these sort of things, the title, description, and the thumbnail, those are key elements that if you optimize those and you spend your time on those, you will see an increase in views and an increase in watch time too.